All right, it's time for another mock draft here on Chicago Bears Now. It is the fourth one we've done this year, but first one since the hiring of Ben Johnson. So let's unveil my latest mock draft. All 7 rounds, we got you covered here. And if you want more Bears draft videos, prove it to us. Hit that subscribe button. If we get, a few subscribers on this show, more than a couple, we'll keep cranking out draft videos. If not, if it's like, we get one new sub or we lose a couple subs, we'll stick to the coaching staff, free agency, all that stuff. So we want to appease the audience here. So if you want more draft content, hit that subscribe button and let us know. Okay, we're not picking at 10. We're trading down. Da-na-na. Trade alert. Arizona came calling. They offered 16 and 47, so drop down 6 spots, trade them a 5th. Because remember, 6 spots doesn't seem like a lot, but in the top half of the first round, that's a valuable pick. So I send back, ship back, a 5th-round pick to Arizona to close that gap. And I still get an offensive lineman, Josh Simmons, who I think is going to be a polarizing player in this draft. The Ohio State left tackle who's very talented, was having an excellent year this year, had a good year last year as well on the left side, and he had a season-ending knee injury in October, missed the rest of the year, and obviously that's going to be a big talking point because he's, 3 months removed from that, so he's not going to be working out at the combine. He probably won't do a ton of pre-draft workouts, period. So that's going to be something teams have to account for. They have to feel good about his medical status when they do those medical checks at the combine and in top 30 visits. But he's really, really talented, and some believe he's the best pure left tackle. Everybody talks about Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks. There's some questions there. They have long enough arms. Simmons is more that prototypical size. It sounds like. Obviously, we'll see how they all measure in at the combine. But if you trade down from 10 and still get a left tackle, that's kind of appealing to me, especially if you can add an extra day 2 pick, where I think is the sweet spot in this draft. Now, obviously, with him, as you look at this offensive line, if you're concerned about his medicals at all, you can't go this route because you need a guy who can play as a rookie. Even if they're not great as a rookie, you need someone who can play as a rookie. Now, Braxton Jones is an insurance policy if they're trying to upgrade at left tackle, but a guy needs more time to recover, you can do that. But ideally, whoever you're taking in the first round is a day 1 contributor, and if he's not, you better believe he's a big-time player long-term. So we'll kind of see if Simmons is truly on the Bears' radar or not, but I like him as a prospect. He can move. He's powerful. Definitely has a better anchor than Braxton Jones. And I think in the run game, he could fit really well with his skill set, with what Ben Johnson's going to want to do with his different run schemes and play calling there. Okay, what do you want the Bears to do in round 1? Who do you want them to draft? And you can also add details like trade up for this guy, trade down for that guy, or pick Ashton Genty at 10, whatever you want to do. Who do you want the Bears to draft in the first round? Let us know who that player is. All right, round 2, pick number 39, Walter Nolen, who is kind of viewed as he could go as high as the 20s. He could fall to the 40s. So, I think at 39, the value would be very good. Obviously, these simulators are not perfect at this point in time. They'll get tightened up once the combine happens here in about 6 weeks or so, 4 or 5 weeks, I guess, actually. What I like about him, though, is he's a very athletic tackle who can play the run and rush the passer. Had like an 11, 12% pass rush win rate for an interior defensive guy. That's very, very good. And his production got better every year. Started at Texas A&M, played there for 2 years, transferred to Ole Miss, even more productive there. So he's been in the SEC against NFL offensive linemen for 3 seasons, and he's been productive, and he's improved every single year. He's versatile. I think you can play both spots at the defensive tackle. I think probably if you brought him in here, he would serve as like your 3rd defensive tackle initially behind Dexter and Billings, but he could play both spots. He could give you snaps at both. Clearly better than Zach Pickens, no question about that. So you would have a heavy rotation player earlier on who ideally long-term you probably pair with Dexter to be your 2 starting defensive tackles. Okay, a player who I think is going to be a fast riser. In fact, it wouldn't shock me if he went in the first round. JT Tuimoloau, JTT, the Ohio State edge rusher who had a good career at Ohio State, but I think for a lot of his college career, at times it felt like, there's just something missing. Like he's too flashy. Like at games he disappears, but then like that game a couple years ago against Penn State where he literally couldn't be blocked. But the second half of this season and in this playoff run in particular, he looked like the most dominant player in the country. He could not be stopped. He wasn't blocked. 6.5 sacks in Ohio State's playoff run, 4 playoff games. Remember, he was the number 1 recruit, and he didn't commit for a while, and it was like, this guy, is he going to live up to the hype? I would argue for a lot of his career, he actually did not. But this year, especially toward the end when it mattered most, he played awesome. He's physical. He's explosive. He can get off the ball. He can play the run. I think this guy has a super bright future, especially with the right coaching. And he's a bigger guy, too. He's 260s, 270s. So depending on the defensive coordinator the Bears hire, I think if you're looking for those bigger defensive ends, kind of like a Montez Sweat, I think he'd be a really good fit in that regard. And the good news here is a guy like him, you can kind of ease him in a little bit. Like, ideally, you would start him, but you've got DeMarcus Walker for another year. Booker's a guy who's going to rotate in. I would imagine the Bears sign a pass rusher. Maybe you bring back a Jacob Martin who flashed in the second half of the season for a cheap deal, something like that. I don't think you need him to be this dominant player early on, but I think with some NFL coaching, he could be very, very good. Like, he's got a huge upside as a player in the NFL. I think he's going to be one of those players that's better in the NFL than he was in college. I really, really do think that's going to be the case here. All right, we are sponsored by Game Time, the place to get your tickets to all of your favorite sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, etc. is the Game Time app. Download Game Time today. It's in your app store. Got a link in the comments and description of this video. Create an account. Use code CHATSPORTS, all one word, CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply. Tons of awesome features with Game Time. You can toggle on Game Time Picks, which is going to filter out the fluff of thousands of tickets and kind of narrow down your search. That way you can find tickets in a timely manner that are in your budget. You can toggle on all-in pricing so you're not hit with random fees at checkout. You know exactly what you're paying for in real time. Views from the seats, curated deals, super deals, which are the best bang for your buck and quality tickets. Sometimes you find discounts on certain tickets as well. Check out Game Time right now. Go check out the Blackhawks. Go to a Bulls game. Want to go watch some college hoops in your area? You can do that as well. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Code CHATSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase only. Terms apply. What time is it? It is game time. Excuse me. Okay. Kaleb Johnson, one of my favorite players in this draft. This guy at Iowa, who is not a good offense historically, was just a dominant player this year. Almost 2,000 all-purpose yards. I think if he played in an offense that had just decent, creativity, and I think he's a talented pass catcher as well, but again, Iowa, I think he would have easily had 2,000 all-purpose. And you look at this running back depth chart right now, you've got DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, which would be your 1-2 punch right now. I've said it repeatedly. I think you need to upgrade from Roschon. Ideally, he's your third back. Ian Wheeler's an intriguing guy, but coming off a torn ACL, we'll see what that looks like. Travis Homer, Darrington Evans, I mean, they picked him up late in the year. I don't think he's in their plans. I don't think Homer's back either. So you're going to add at least one back to pair with Swift, in my opinion. I mean, you think about these Lions offenses with Ben Johnson. They drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, even though they had already paid David Montgomery. And even after getting Gibbs, they extended David Montgomery because they want 2 good running backs. He wants to run the football. Swift and an okay player like Roschon Johnson, that's not good enough. You need to upgrade the room. Kaleb Johnson is big. He's physical. He can run away from guys. He can catch the ball. He can pass protect a little bit. I think he's the real deal, man. I think he's a really, really good player. I think if you drafted him, there's a scenario where he starts over Swift, and Swift kind of becomes the 2 in that 1-2 punch. I think it'd be a really fun pairing. And then Roschon's kind of just your number 3 dirty work back. I think that would be a pretty damn good running back room if you could get a guy like Kaleb Johnson in the second round. Do the Bears need to draft a running back? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think they do. I think they will. This free agent group, there's the Najee Harrises of the world. I'd rather just draft somebody because there's so many good backs in this draft. Oh, let's have fun. 3 Buckeyes. Donovan Jackson. I think this guy is one of the biggest wild card players in this draft. He's one of the most fascinating prospects. Why is that, Harrison? Well, he was a 2.5-year starter at guard and a pretty damn good one. I think a guy who just on his guard tape alone was a day 2 type of player. But then Josh Simmons, who I took earlier, is out for the season. They kicked this guy out to left tackle. A, selfless teammate. B, it took a couple games, but once he got settled in, played pretty damn well. Like, if he has longer arms than people think, like, is this guy a tackle in the NFL? I'll be curious to see where they play him. And at minimum, you know this. Good teammate, versatility. I'd probably play him at guard, especially in this scenario if you draft Simmons. But having a guy you could kick out there if you need to and move around, that's very valuable. You get this guy in the third round. I don't know if that'll be the case in a couple months. I think if he measures in and tests well, this could be a fast riser because teams are going to say, shit, if he could play left tackle, like I might just play him at left tackle. So I like what I saw from him on tape and in these games down the stretch. I mean, you watch the Buckeyes in the playoff run. Was he ever giving up blindside pressure? I can't think of a single time. I thought he played outstanding. So I think he's going to be a fast riser, multiple positions, very valuable. You get him on day 2. I think that's a really good pick. All right, since I traded that 5th rounder, no 4th rounder, obviously, all the way to round 6 and 7. David Walker, keep an eye on this guy. I think he's going to get a combine invite. Central Arkansas, PFF monitored him this year. His grades for 3 years in a row are like in the 80s and 90s. Now, again, he's playing FCS football, right? So, like, I don't want to make it more than what he is, but decent size, great production. You know, the comp I've seen for him is Muhammad Kamara, Colorado State, small school guy who was a good college player, rotated in this year, did some decent things. So keep an eye on that. And then Elijah Badger in the 7th round, good speed, 21 yards a catch for Florida this year. Ended the season with an injury. Not sure what his status is there, but 7th round. Take a swing on a speedster and see if you can find lightning in a bottle there. So there you have it. The priority picks here: Josh Simmons, Walter Nolen, JT Tuamolo out, Kaleb Johnson, Donovan Jackson in the first 3 rounds. And then to wrap up, David Walker and Elijah Badger. That is my Bears mock draft 4.0. Get your grades in. A, B, C, D, or F. How did I do? Let me know in the comment section down below. And again, if you want more draft videos, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We will continue to pump out the content here on Bears Now.